Welcome to the Football Historian Podcast.
By all means, enjoy it.
He will go right to the very top.
Dos, tres, cuatro times.
Here we go, Germans.
I will turn these results round.
All right, that's good manners.
There's animosity, but there's no fight.
If you can't beat them, join them.
How do you make me feel sick if I look at you?
No, I want to fight here.
Don't drink, don't sleep with women, don't drive fast cars.
Sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be shit too!
Hello everyone and welcome to the Football Historian Podcast. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Jack Whitham. Thank you so much for making the very long journey. I think you're comfortably the longest travel we've had for an interview, so I really do appreciate the effort you've made.
No problem at all.
Yeah. So we're just going to talk about you and your career, if that's okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
You're good with that. So let's just start at the beginning. Obviously, growing up, is it Burnley you brought up?
I was brought up in Burnley, and from a 12-year-old, I was training with Burnley at twice a week at Gothop, where there was the training ground. And that just carried on until I was about 14, 15. I got in the Colts team. And I was going to be an apprentice at Burnley, but Mum and Dad weren't happy me being an apprentice because they didn't know what was at the end of it if it didn't work out. And funnily enough, I went to a talk yesterday morning about the transition between being a young lad and then getting released and lads not knowing what they wanted to do. And also we talked about transitions between when you finish your career. But it was interesting. And Mum and Dad wanted me to get into something. So I started work for a firm of accountants in Burnley. And I travelled all over Lancashire doing audits. And Burnley said they might then want to sign me as a professional at 18. But that offer never came, and so I thought that was the end of it. And but then I got an offer from Sheffield Wednesday, and again, my mum and dad weren't pleased because they said I was offered an 18-month contract at Sheffield Wednesday, and mum and dad said, "Give up your job, accountancy, that you can do till you're 60,
yeah,
you know, or 70 these days, isn't it? And you're going to take a job that might be collapse after 18 months." But you know, when you've been a kid and that's all you want to do, want to try, I had this feeling that if I didn't try, that I'd regret it later on in life. So I decided, I gave up my job and I went to Sheffield Wednesday, and your career progresses from there. And strangely, by a quirk of fate, my debut was against Burnley, and we won 7-0. and everybody came over. My mum and dad came over, my brother, my mates from Burnley came over anyway because they followed Burnley, you know, so they were coming over anyway. and yeah, so and obviously things went quite well at Sheffield Wednesday with me. I got in the England squad, the England under-23 squad, and I played for an England. Wasn't an official England side, but Alf Ramsey picked an England squad to go and play a game for Guernsey's 75th anniversary, and I was in that team.
Yeah.
And it was all going well, and then, of course, Liverpool came in and bought me.
Yeah. Well, to rewind a little bit, obviously, so any regrets then of making that decision of giving up the accountancy and sticking with the football?
No. I'd have regretted it years later if I had tried.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, my career didn't go like it should have gone because of two really serious injuries at Liverpool, and but I'm glad I did because it opened a lot of other doors. And for the last until 2014, I did 12 years at Sunderland. I did Luton Town. I did 3 years at Bramall Lane. I did 3 years at Wolverhampton on the scouting side, you know. And it wouldn't have opened those doors if I hadn't have took that. It's a gamble, really.
Yeah, of course. I understand
it's a gamble.
Well, as you said, and it's one that I think most young lads who in that position would definitely have taken. I've also got here your youth career for Holy Trinity FC. That's on your Wikipedia. Is that correct?
Well, when the thing didn't, they went on to great things in amateur football, Holy Trinity, and I missed them all because in the first year that we formed the side, because Burnley hadn't come back to me and I had nowhere to play then. We formed this side from the local lads who played in basically schoolyard, and they went on to great things. But yeah, we formed that side. It was during that first season that I got the letter from Sheffield Wednesday. It was some referee or something that had wrote to them and said, and I came over to Sheffield, and I came over on a month's trial, and they signed me at the end of the first week. So
yeah, I say it's early 60s, 64 is it you signed for Sheffield Wednesday?
Yes, it's 1 week before my 18th birthday. Yeah.
So, and then, as you say, there your debuts against Burnley, you score twice in a 7-0 victory. Was it all going very well at the start? Did you think, what division were Sheffield Wednesday in when you signed for?
The top league.
Yeah, so that's like a big step up to go and make that instant impact.
Well, all the 6 years I was there, they were in the top league.
Yeah. So you obviously, were you expecting then your career's going to skyrocket? It must have felt easy if you're coming on and scoring twice. What I mean, as a teenager.
You never find it easy, but it went okay. The first, I don't know, 40 games I got 20 goals, and then I think I finished up with 1 every 2 games when I was there, and it was going okay. And but it went into a bad patch when Alan Brown left as manager to go back to Sunderland, and they changed managers too quickly. Jack Marshall, Danny Williams, Tommy McAneeney had a spell, Laurie McMenemy had a spell when Jack Marshall was in hospital, but too many changes, I thought. And they sold too many players. They sold Will Smith to Coventry, they sold Peter Eustace to West Ham, they sold Jim McCalliog to Wolverhampton Wanderers then before he went to Manchester United. They sold me to Liverpool. They sold David Ford to Newcastle United. You can't do that, can you? Yeah. Everybody knows, even today, you can't take 5. And we didn't have big squads in those days, like that they have now.
Yeah, but I just want to talk about, you're there for 6 years at Sheffield Wednesday. Yeah. So what can you describe the difference between football then and today for anyone maybe unaware? Like, what position did you play? How did you play? And what difference would that be in the modern game, do you think?
Well, it depends what shape you play. I mean, the thing about when I was a right winger, I'm not sure Shanks knew that, because when I came here, Ian Callaghan was the right winger, and he tried to play me up front, but I'd never played up front as a target man.
Yeah,
I'd never done a John Toshak role, put it that way. I always, when I was at Sheffield Wednesday, we had John Ritchie, who was similar to Toshak. You could hit him and play out in. If we had to play 2 up or a 4-2-4, and I had to play down the middle, I'd play off Ritchie. I'd run in behind. But basically I went to Sheffield Wednesday as a right winger.
Yeah,
and we played under Alan Brown 4-3-3, and we had a target man who was eventually John Ritchie, but started with John Hickton, who went to Middlesbrough. David Ford on the left and me on the right, and it suited me down to ground because I was a right winger. If I had the space wide right, I could take fullbacks on, because pace was the one thing I did have.
Yeah.
Now up to feet, holding it up, linking the play like a target man's supposed to do, I was never any good at that. But the 4-3-3 suited me because it were fluid. Me and Ford, he could swap. Okay, Richie stayed down the middle, but it just suited me down to ground. It weren't quite the same when I came to Liverpool, because I think Shanks thought I could play. Because just before Tosh came, we went to play Middlesbrough pre-season friendly, and he played me as like a target man. And it wasn't until years later when he called me into the office one day, Shanks, and he said, "You played tennis with Toshak's son?" And I said, "I do, boss. We play down at Formby." And he said, No, don't play tennis with Toshak's son. And I said, "Why is that, boss? You don't want to get too friendly with the man you're trying to get the place off." And I said, "I'm not trying to get Tosh's place, Gaffer. I don't play that role. I'm a right winger." And he looked stunned for a minute, and then he just shook his head and he says, No, don't play tennis with Toshak's son. And that were it. So I think he always thought of me as like some kind of a... Well, I mean, when the programme you've just given me to sign the Derby game, well, I played up front. But 2 of the goals, if you ever see them, I still think they're on YouTube somewhere. I'm running in behind.
Yeah.
I'm not going to feet, and they were longish balls I got on the end of, and I think he played me as target man. We beat Coventry 2-0. I think he played me up there with Borsma around me.
Yeah.
And I used to think to myself, well, I'm not really good at this, you know. And then, of course, when he did buy Tosh, when he realised he needed a proper target man, I thought, well, that's okay because I can play off Tosh, which should have suited me down to ground. But of course, he just signed Kevin, and not me, and nobody else in this country were going to replace Kevin Keegan doing that role, and I couldn't do Tosh's role, so it looked that I knew then my chances were limited.
Yeah, from there. But if we just you mentioned before about injuries as well. Obviously, that impacted your career. In those days, was the recovery harder, or were you expected to play through more injuries? Do you know what I mean?
Because you were expected to play for him. You'll have heard the stories about Shanks.
Yeah.
I mean, the Saint thought it was really funny because after my ruptured knee ligaments, Shanks made me train on my own because he said it could be catching. The injury could be catching. And listen, all these years later, that sounds funny, doesn't it? But you know when it happens to you at the time, it's heartbreaking. It's not funny.
Yeah.
And I mean, no, I'd had it. There used to be a lad at the club called Phil Dando, and we'd just beaten Coventry 2-0, and it was on either Monday or Tuesday morning after the Coventry game, and I'd got both goals against Coventry. And I clashed knees with Phil Dando. I spun him behind, and he was coming out, and we hit kneecaps. And it was absolute agony, and by the Thursday I could hardly walk. And Shanks said, "Just got in the side, son. You don't want to play?" I said, "I do want to play. Boss, have to play me." And anyway, to cut a long story short, I played 3 or 4 more games, but all my muscle wasted on my leg. So I scored the winner against Huddersfield, and I said to Shanks, "I'm not playing anymore till they just went back my knee." So they took me to Fazakerley Hospital and x-rayed my knee. My kneecap were broken right across the middle. And so they had to put me in a splint and everything and put it back together, and that took ages. And then when I were coming back from that, we played Everton in a reserve game. I went up for a header, and again they were playing as target man because it was Mickey Lyons right behind me. And I went up and I got up early, flicked this ball on, but as I landed, Mick came out the air after me, and I landed on my knees, and as I pushed myself up with that foot, Mick's body weight landed on my heel, and it just pushed my foot, and I had a loud crack all over the ground. But even then, it took 6 weeks before they found out I'd got ruptured knee ligaments, and you're supposed to operate on them quite quickly. That's the difference. Listen, weren't just Liverpool. I talked to lads at other clubs who you were expected to play through things, and of course the medical side wasn't as good as it is. Well, nothing was as good as it is now.
Yeah.
Every sport moves on. But you can see these days when people get injured, there's 3 or 4 physios around you and people talking on thing and whipping you straight on a trolley to hospital and stuff like that.
Well,
just where it was. Probably worse in 50s.
Yeah, so is that when you said that 6 weeks, are you playing with that injury?
I played 1, 2, 3, 5 games with broken kneecap.
Wow.
And in the week I used to use a metal boot to build my muscle up because it wasted every time. But unbeknown to me, using that metal boot pulled the tip of the kneecap. You can imagine doing that with weight on, and it's broken across it. It pulled it down. Listen, it was all. I'm guessing that every ex-Liverpool player you interview will tell you the same about Shanks. He just hated injured players.
Yeah.
All he wanted to concentrate on were, I can understand it, those who were fit, those who could play in the team in the next game. And because he used to go around telling people he'd never been injured, nobody ever hurt him, he couldn't be hurt and stuff like this. Don't know whether that was ever true or not, but
maybe in his head it was. Yeah. You mentioned a few very important people in football, not just Liverpool. You helped me with the book for Tommy Lawrence, which was pretty kind of you to do, and you told the story of you and Kevin Keegan in one pre-season tour. That's correct.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, the one in...
Is it Sweden or...
we went to Scandinavia.
Yeah.
And we played... Get my head around this. I'm 78. My memory's not worried. We played Aarhus in Denmark. We played a team called Lulea, Lulea, in near the Arctic Circle somewhere. I think it's in Sweden. And we played a team called Sundsvall. And, of course, money wasn't what it is now. And we were, me and Kevin shared a room that, I don't know whether it was 10 days or a fortnight. We shared a room all that trip. And on the last, is that what's the last night when we all went out together?
Yeah.
And Kevin and I were newish to the club, and we didn't know on the last night you're all supposed to go out together, but we had no money left between us. We didn't have anything. Kevin and I shared a glass of orange juice on that last night in this bar, and I was walking home, and it's pitch bright daylight now because it's midnight, something like that. And we met Tommy, and Tommy said to us, "Smith is looking for you too, and he's an angry man." We said, "What's he angry about?" He says, "Final night, we all go out together." Nobody told us. So we were terrified, and we came down to breakfast following morning, and I thought Smith is going to say something here, but he didn't actually. He glared at us a bit. Nobody told us we had to go out together on last night.
At least he gave you the heads up.
Is that the story?
Yeah, that was. I was saying, just obviously Kevin Keegan is a massive player when goes on to win the Ballon d'Or. Like, was it that obvious?
Oh, yeah.
How old was he then, and how old were you? And was it that obvious he was going to go on to stardom?
I could tell straight. There were no mobile phones in them days. We played our house. I was leading scorer on that tour. Me and Bobby Graham got 3 goals each on that trip. I rang my wife from the hotel room on the hotel phone, and I said, I'm okay, I'm rooming with this new kid, Kevin Keegan. He is going to be one of the best players you've ever seen. And I said to Ronnie Moran when we walked off, "Oh my God, what a player he is." And that's the first game I'd ever played with him. And Ronnie said, "He's got a few rough edges we'll have to knock off." And I thought to myself, he has no rough edges, this kid. He was terrific. And I'd played against him once before, at FA Cup for Sheffield Wednesday. I hadn't noticed him because he played midfield. And as soon as they brought him here, they changed him to a strike. And that was the difference then, wasn't it? Fantastic player. A fantastic kid as well, bro. Fantastic player in terms of ability and how he worked at it, and he had more ability to give him credit for, but he also worked it, and he were busy, and you don't win. You can't go to Hamburg and be player if you know a good deal. You do when European player, didn't you, and all that sort of stuff.
So, he did quite well, I must say.
Brilliant, and a brilliant kid. I loved him. I got on great with Kevin. Fantastic. Yes. I went to see him when he was manager of Newcastle when they played Hillsborough, and he said, "I'll never forget that day." We went out for Christmas Day and I play guitar, and the lads asked me to play guitar at the do in the afternoon, and it were all going right well, and somebody, I don't know who it was, probably had a few too many, and sprayed me with soda siphon while I was playing my guitar, and Kevin's never forgot that. First thing he said when I went to the dressing room at Hillsborough, when Newcastle just played Wednesday, and he said, "What about that day they sprayed you with soda siphon?"
You sharing an orange juice with them when you met him again, or
sorry?
Did you share another orange juice with them that day?
No, we didn't. No.
Got your own drinks now, yeah.
Well,
another man you've mentioned there as well, it was also quite important, is Bill Shankly. Yeah. Can you just describe what he's like? Obviously, I think everyone knows all the stories about him, but maybe one-on-one stories, or just how you took him in the time you were at Anfield.
I think there's 2 things about Shanks. Nobody's ever going to take his legacy away from him, from what he did at Liverpool. Fantastic. And Bob, when Bob followed him. Just amazing, really. And it depends how you took the eccentricity. If I can give you an example, the day I signed, Bob stayed at Anfield, and I only went to Fazakerley Hospital with my wife and Shanks, and they give me this medical, and this guy did the medical. He said after doing the medical, he said, "You got a big, strong, fit boy there, Mr. Shankly." He said, "I'm just gonna syringe his ears because he's got some wax in his ears." Well, suddenly Shanks went, wax, Jesus Christ, Bob, he's got wax in his ears. And I looked round for Bob. I thought Bob must have come in. But he hadn't. Bob was still at Anfield, but that's the sort of strange things they did. You'll have all the stories about him thinking that the foreign players were. And another story, I told you about the Middlesbrough game pre-season, and that when we were going up, I said to Emlyn Hughes, and this is another change in football diet. I said to Emlyn, what do you get for pre-match meal, Emlyn? And he said, steak. Oh, I said, I don't want steak. I said, they used to give you steak at Sheffield Wednesday. I could never digest it. And Shanks said, Emlyn said, you'll have to have steak. So I went to Bob Pears and I said, Bob, Emlyn says, it's steak pre-season, pre-match meal. And Bob said, it is. And I said, can I just have toast or egg on toast? So Bob disappeared and must have had a word with Shanks. And Shanks came over and said, you don't like steak, son? Oh, I said, I do, boss, love steak. You don't want steak? And I said, no, I can't make it digest. It's heavy on my stomach, Gaffer. And he said, it's Aberdeen Angus. And I said, yeah, I know it might well be, boss, but I've never found it suits me. And I said, look, you want the best out of me. I want the best out of me. I don't think you get it on steak. No, you weren't having it. No, son. Everybody at Liverpool, everybody eats steak. Now, the only problem with that is that, or the good thing about it was that probably every other club were doing it as well.
Yeah.
But so these days they won't allow you near a fillet steak on a Saturday lunchtime, would they? No, they've changed that. Arsene Wenger changed everything. He changed all the diets, didn't he? And then it filtered through to. I was at a recruitment at Bramall Lane for 3 years, 2007 till 10, and of course we used to have lunch every day in our canteen at the training ground, and you never saw. It's always chicken and pasta and fish and everything else. But of course they didn't know in then days, did they?
Yeah.
So it's not like it's a wrong decision. They actually didn't know.
Yeah.
They actually thought. You might have heard a story that somebody told me, I didn't know about it, that Shanks gave Johnny McLaughlin steak every day to take home. The club bought him steak every day. He had to eat steak every day of his life. They wanted to build him up, and I don't know whether that's. They tell me it's a true story.
Yeah, I expect so. As you say, the eccentricities maybe of him is. Cause I've done like a lot of videos. I've got like an Instagram account where you do the videos and I like do the captions on them. And I often think what he said wasn't always the most amazing thing. Was the way in which he said it, and like he's known as being a great man motivator and stuff like that. So
he was the motivator. Yeah. Bob was the like these days when I was working for Wolves and for Sheffield United and for Sunderland, full match reports on every team, and give those match reports to the players. And so this is the guy I'm up against. If you're a winger, this is the fullback. If you're a fullback, this is winger. How are you going to? Does he come inside? Is he an inside out winger? Is he a basic right footed right winger? Whatever. So you know who you're playing against. We never got none of that really. It was all we are better than them. You're better than them. Go out and show them you're better than them. And we're going to do it our way. And that's how it was. I think Bob was more technical and into game more than Shanks, but you're right. Shanks was the motivator.
And then how good was he at that? Was obviously you've been around football a lot. You've been around other managers. You see the best, or
obviously one of the best. Obviously, but you only have to look at what he achieved.
Yeah,
the second division when he came and he took him in and. Brilliant. And then Bob took it on from then, even did better, didn't he?
Yeah.
Bob did even better than Shanks in terms of trophies and European stuff and all that. And no, I mean, he was absolutely dedicated to Liverpool. That's all he thought about day and night. He used to tell you not to talk about don't talk about other sports boys. We were talking about cricket or something one day down. Don't talk about other sports boys. Only football's worth talking about. But then he'd go and tell you about Joe Lewis and Rocky Marciano and all these.
Yeah, I think that's why I wrote on the steaks as well, wasn't it? Like the boxing diet, I think, was because of the steaks as well. For the boxers, I think that's where he got inspired for the steaks pie as well.
Did they?
Yeah, but obviously, just talk about Bob Paisley as well, another huge figure. I think a lot of people who played under Shankly give a lot of credit to Bob Paisley for what he did. And was that, obviously, you might not have thought he had the personality to go on and be a manager, but was it a surprise to see how well he did, and how important was he to the club while you were there?
I don't think it was a surprise how well he did. He still had basically the players, and he knew the philosophy, how Liverpool wanted to play, and he knew the game inside out, Bob. And he could tell you about this and that and all the sort of things. But he was a much more like gentle guy than Uncle Bob, they used to call him, than other managers who were can be aggressive and slamming people about and all this sort of thing. I don't think it was a surprise, because he still had the same team behind him with Joe and Ron and then Roy Evans, who came onto the Scottish side, didn't he? And I love Roy to bits, because I played tons of games with Roy, because Shanks put me in reserves for the first 6 months.
Yeah.
Didn't tell me that when he signed me, but no, and even then I thought we were going to get games, because I scored hat-trick against Blackburn reserves, hat-trick against Newcastle reserves, hat-trick against Burnley reserves, and still never couldn't get a game.
Yeah, sounds about right. And just touch on reserves as well. I was going to ask you about that. Is that it doesn't really exist nowadays as a Premier League 2, and it's just like younger players, really, maybe one or two coming back from injury. Most players who don't play at the weekend, there's this massive bench. They don't play football really unless they're given a chance.
Because the reserve teams have gone.
Yeah, so that's. But can you like say what the standard of reserve was like, and do you think the football is missing having that still being as prominent?
I just think it evolves, and with all European games, and they wanted to go to under-21 league and all this sort of thing, rather than a proper reserve side where you played young lads coming through, older players coming back from injury. I played in some terrific reserve sides at Liverpool. St John, Tommy Lawrence, St John. I played. Roy Evans played. Peter Thompson played. Don't sound like a reserve side, does it? But no, good players. First time I saw Peter Thompson when I came here, God, I thought, mate, how good is he? He was that. Lads called him Maestro, didn't they? You don't. Other players don't call you Maestro unless you're something special. He was something special, Peter Thompson.
Yeah, and then so the reserve standard. How good was that?
It was a good standard.
Was that as good as when you were playing Sheffield Wednesday? Was it like as competitive as that? Or was it obviously? Was it like a drop below from the first team? Was it an obvious drop, or was it
it's an obvious
still
drop.
very competitive?
Well, everything's different, isn't it? You know, mainly at Liverpool, the crowd. But yeah, it's a massive drop. But to be fair to Liverpool, they still wanted reserves to win just as much as they wanted first team to win. There were some clubs you went to, and it didn't matter what reserves did, as long as these players were being blooded or these guys were coming back from injury. But we used to walk that Central League every year.
Yeah, and then at your time at Liverpool, it was like the bridge between Shankly's first team and second team. It was obviously but maybe having to get rid of older players who've been so good for him and bringing in new ones. Did it feel like that, a transition period?
It did, because obviously Tommy Lawrence was replaced by Ray Clemens, and Yatesy was replaced by Larry, and Strongy was placed left back by Alec Lindsay. They said they'd bought me to replace Roger Hunt, but that were what it said in Alt Press. But again, I never played Roger's position, so why they would say that? Just probably as a goal scorer. Peter Thompson was replaced by Highway. Nobody could replace Cali. They kept trying, and nobody was ever going to replace Cali. He tried a few people up front like Bobby Graham, Alan Evans, and then he settled on Tosh and Keegan. Brought Cormac into midfield and stuff like that. So there was a massive change going on, and it isn't easy, that is it? Because when you're doing that, I don't know. Never spoke to the Saint about it or to Tomo about it. They're probably still in their heads. We're thinking, well, I'm still good. I should still be in team. Yeah. Because that's how you think, isn't it? But it was a huge change. I think he'd done it once before, hadn't he? Earlier on.
At the very start, he had to bring a lot of the new ones in then, which is probably easier when you first come, isn't it? But I think, saying it there, was there any unrest from those who have been heroes and then suddenly playing in the reserves? Did you ever sense that unrest, or?
I never saw it.
Yeah.
I think you're too bothered at the time, or I think I were too bothered trying to work my own way into the side and say, you know, what am I going to do? What am I going to do if I don't get into the side? And all this sort of stuff. And you start thinking things like, when I came to Liverpool, I had a choice of a few clubs. I actually told Sheffield Wednesday I didn't want to leave because I was getting married, and I was the captain of Sheffield Wednesday at that time was Don Megson, and he'd moved to Bristol Rovers as manager, and we'd been to look at his house to buy it. I'm going to buy his house off him. And I said, when they said they were selling me, and I said, I'm not going anywhere. I'm getting married and I'm buying a house in Sheffield. But in them days, the weight was behind the clubs, not the players. You know what I mean? Yeah. It might have gone too far these days, but they said, no, he just said to me, directors have told me I've got to sell 5 of you, and you were one. You know, you didn't seem to have a choice in them days.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I came here, and what were the other clubs? Sunderland was definitely one. Hallam Brown, my old manager in Sheffield Wednesday. Don't know who the other club was, but anyway, I was always going to come to Liverpool, wasn't I? Because they were a big name club. They've got big name players, and they had a set thing. I don't know whether anybody's ever told you that everybody was on the same contract. And when I went in, he had Ian St John's, Peter Thompson's, and somebody else. Ian St John, Peter Thompson, and I can't remember the other one. He had 3 contracts on the table, and he said, give me my contract to sign, and he said he went to read them, some they're identical, and I didn't want to know that. For a start, I didn't even think I should have been on the same money as people like Callie and Peter Thompson. They were internationals, World Cup squad and all this sort of thing. So, but that was the way he did it. This was Liverpool way, and they believed in the Liverpool way, and it can't have been wrong because of all the success they had.
Yeah.
I mean, they had a thing about, just before I left Sheffield Wednesday, I passed my intermediate coaching badge. And in 1971, I said to Shanks, I want to go to Lilleshall, get my full badge this year, Gaffer. And he says, no, son. Nobody goes to Liverpool. Nobody goes to Lilleshall from Liverpool. They fill your head with rubbish, son. We do it the Liverpool way, nobody else's way. I had to wait till 76 to qualify.
No, that's good. Well, so we'll have a quick break there, and we'll come back and we'll talk a bit more about your career. So we'll see you in a couple of seconds.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Warren, the producer for the Football Historian podcast, and we're here today to talk to you about the Patreon subscription.
Yes, so for just £1 a month for the first 100 people, there's a lot of benefits that you get, and I think £1 is a terrific deal.
Pittance, yes,
£1 only, and you get early access, which means at least 24 hours before everyone else gets the episode, you get to watch it. There's also an extra section, we call it the Football Historian Podcast Extra Time, and we ask all the questions to the guests that no one else gets to see unless you're a patron. And on top of that, you're the ones who get to ask the questions. You send them in, we tell you which guest is going to be coming and sitting in this chair. You ask them, we record it, you get to watch it. No one else does. On top of that, we do a monthly special. We did one last night. It was a quiz. You were there.
Yeah, bedlam and great content.
Yeah, so hopefully you can watch that. As I said, we've got a round on Linvoy Primus or Lionel Messi. We've done mastermind stuff, all that. That's going to happen every month. The bigger this grows, we're going to do it even more regularly. Hopefully it'll be once a week. But we need your support. So to do that, £1 a month for the first 100 people. Your early support will be rewarded. From then on, it's £3 a month if you want to support us. If you want to pay £5 a month, you get all that we've just mentioned, but you get a poster. Warren will sign it, I'll sign it, all the lads. We'll get a few of the guests to do it as well. We'll send that out to you. And then for £10 a month, you get all that, the poster, all the early access, and you get a free copy of any of my books. So I've done one on Billy Liddell, Crossing the Park, Tommy Lawrence. They're all worth at least £20. For just £10, you get a copy of the book, all the stuff we've already mentioned. We'd really appreciate your support. We cannot do this without you.
This really is a passion project, and anything people can put into it goes straight back into it. We don't take a wage. We're doing this for free. We're doing this because we enjoy what we do.
That's it. It all makes the content better. And I say from just £1 a month, you can make our dreams come true. Thanks for the support. Enjoy the rest of the episode. Welcome back to the second section. Thank you for not running away in the break. We're going to talk more about the rest of your career. And you mentioned before injuries had a big impact on how you progressed at Liverpool and obviously just your game in general. Was those injuries you discussed before, and then how long were you out and how hard is it to come back from a big injury, especially in that time?
Well, to be fair, from the ruptured knee ligament injury that I had when we played at Everton, it took me a year. I had to have, they put carbon fibre in my knee and everything, and then when I got fit, there's no way I was coming back at team. We got Toshak and Keegan up front, and I'm not going to play on right wing anymore because I didn't play that system. So, and I think Shanks had just had enough then. I'd my broken kneecap and then my ruptured knee ligaments, and Shanks thought I should quit, actually. He thought I shouldn't carry on playing anymore. But I went to see Lyle Thompson, who was the surgeon at Fazackley, and I said, how is it? How should it be? And he said, well, no, it's fine, you can play. Well, I'd been training for a couple of months, but I couldn't get a game anywhere. And Shanks said something about, I can't play in any team, not even juniors, youth team, A team, wherever it was, because if it breaks down, there's a problem with insurance. But anyway, Mr. Thompson said he thought I'd be all right to play, and so then I went. Frank O'Farrell came from Cardiff City to sign me, and I played it there for a couple of seasons. Then I played at Reading for a couple of seasons. I mean, the knee actually been perfect because I know it's not at professional level, but when I finally packed in, I went playing manager of a team called Hallam, the second oldest club on earth.
Yeah.
And I played 146 games at Hallam, and I played 500 in 25 years. I played 501 games for Sheffield Wednesday All Stars, and I played some vets games for Hallam, and so I played for a team called Wadsley Juve. I probably played another 600 or 700 games after I finished professionally.
Yeah.
And I haven't had a twinge out of my knee, nothing.
So, yeah, obviously it went well. The surgeon was right.
Yeah.
At that time, though, when you're injured, there's a lot of focus now on like mental health and how hard it is for players who aren't part of it. You're obviously not out in training every day. What was your day-to-day in that year when you're not off, and how tough was it for you not being in football? Yeah, we're going in every day and having some kind of treatment and trying to work on your muscles on your legs and keep your legs strong, and so that when you did start training, it's just a gradual progression. Yeah. And it's every footballer will tell you it is a tough time. And then when it comes to the crunch, you think, well, am I ever going to be something like that? Am I ever going to be able to play again? I've got a wife. I've got a young family. Our Karen was born at Fazackley Hospital in 1972, and you start to worry then, and that does play havoc with your mind. Because I think it's the fear, really. What are you going to do? We didn't earn enough to think, it don't matter if I can't play anymore, because I've been here for 4 years and I've earned £250,000 a week for 4 years. I'll have enough to be okay. Yeah. When you were earning what we were earning, you've got this fear if you're not going to play again. And you might be able to plan your phase out gradually if you know it's coming. Sometimes with a very serious injury, your career's at its height and suddenly it's gone completely. And it's a fear of the future and what you're going to do and how you're going to carry on. Do you want to work in football? Are you going to get a job in football and all this sort of thing? Yeah. And it don't come easy, does it? Because when I quit, I just got my full coaching badge at Lilleshall. I wrote to all 92 clubs in league to see if anybody wanted a coach, either a first team, reserve team or a youth team coach. I was fully qualified, and I never got one reply from nobody. Not good. But so at that time again, so just go back to injuries wise, does anyone in, not just Liverpool, obviously you had injuries elsewhere, does anyone help you at that stage at all? Like, obviously you've got people who are doing the work with on your leg and whatever. Are they like talking to you saying like, how are you? Or is there a plan for how they can help you? Or because it's not really something that was discussed at that time, is to just get on with it and go through? It's just get on with it. It's not like today they'll put a plan in place, like a 9-month plan in place where you should be at each stage to try and get yourself fit, with the help from physios and the help from your sports scientists and all that, which we didn't have, obviously. Yeah. Basically, Liverpool was Shanks, Bob, Joe and Ronnie, and Tom Saunders, of course, who looked after kids, and later on
Roy Evans.
Yeah, no, that was it. That's all you had. Okay, then as you say there, your Liverpool career comes to an end.
Yeah.
Was it a shock the way it ended, or could you see injuries? Was it expected?
It didn't end good, and simply because they told me without playing anywhere, I couldn't show I was fit. Okay, I may never been going to be fit enough to play for Liverpool again, and I were never going to get in team probably if I were fit enough, because they had better players than me than in team. However, it didn't mean to say I couldn't play somewhere else, but I couldn't prove my fitness to anybody, so everybody were very dubious about. I had to sign a thing at Cardiff to say if my knee broke down in the first 6 months or 3 months, can't remember, if my knee broke down, in the first 18 months, I would only hold the club to 3-month contract. So I had to sign that because they didn't know whether I went on a month's trial at first. This is coming down, let's have a look at it for a month. And I played 4 or 5 games in that month and actually scored in every game. And I didn't feel anything. And so they signed me, but I had to sign that clause. Yeah, and it is a worrying time because Cardiff, it weren't great money at Liverpool, but Cardiff weren't paying me as much as Liverpool were paying me. So 4.5 years from signing for Liverpool, all right, in the 7th was actually on less money than I were 4.5 years previous.
Yeah.
So it's not it isn't a good time.
Yeah.
But you see, you've got a family to feed, you've got a mortgage and all this sort of thing, and it changes changes your outlook. Yeah. And when you're 18 and you're a kid and you've no mortgage, you're not married, and you just come and play, don't you? You just want to play. That's all you want to do.
Yeah, and then suddenly you're thinking of a lot of other things. So we've had a few other former footballers in, and who I think the big fear is, as you say, injury, then what happens next, and then trying to make sure that you look after your family money-wise and all that. So at that stage, just for people who may be unaware, how rich were footballers compared to like the average working man? Were you above it? I'm not asking exactly what money you were on, but nowadays the multi-millionaires, how above the average man were you?
I know exactly how much we were. Well, my dad had just got a job when I signed for Liverpool. It was called British Aircraft Products, somewhere near Preston, and he was over the moon because he got 20 quid a week. He thought it was the best wage he'd ever had, 20 quid a week. Now, when I left Sheffield Wednesday, I was on £35 a week, so my dad thought I was well paid. I was nearly on double him. Yeah. When I came to Liverpool, they had a contract at Liverpool where you couldn't earn less than, I think it was 85. You couldn't earn less. But they didn't pay you that weekly. They made it up at the end of the year if you hadn't made it up in bonuses.
Right.
So I was on about 4 times what my dad were earning. But I don't know what the average wage is these days, but £250,000 a week is not 4 times it is. It's probably 40 times it, 50 times, 100 times it.
Yeah.
And every player I knew who played in the 60s and the 70s, they also knew that after football they had to get a job, they had to work. I've known people who became postmen. I've known people who became. I spoke to Jeff Astle's daughter at the PFA meeting on Thursday, and Jeff Astle's daughter said he became a window cleaner after he finished playing football.
Yeah.
And everybody knew you had to find a life outside of football, and it depends what you did, what you do. You know, some people might have been in business a little bit before they left football. Peter Thompson did that. He had a caravan park, didn't he?
Yeah.
And had a garage. And,
I think he had a pub as well, didn't he? Yeah.
And then he took the hotel in the lakes.
Yeah.
Josie went up to stay with him once. And so some people plan it. Some people it comes on too quick. Some people think, I'll cross that bridge when I get to it, and it comes a bit quicker than they expect it. But listen, you've got to make your own. You've got to make your own decisions, your own life, and where you live for a start. A lot of players live wherever the last club was, because no point in moving. We made a conscious decision. When I finished, we were going back to Sheffield. Josie's mum and dad were in Sheffield. Didn't know what I was going to do, must admit, but. we were going to back to Sheffield and make a base there if we could.
Yeah.
And obviously I was hoping maybe one of these 92 clubs were going to get back to me and say, hey, we want a coach.
Yeah.
But they didn't. So I took the job at Hallam, and as player coach, played 146 games there over 3 or 4 years, and Georgie and I bought the pub. We lived in a village called Wadsley, and right in the middle of the village was a pub called the Wadsley Jack, and everybody thought, because it had changed its name from the start and been completely revamped, everybody thought I'd called it Wadsley Jack because I was called Jack. I would not be so presumptuous. It was the brewery that did that, because don't know whether it was around here or not, but in those days they had people go around sharpening knives. They were called farriers.
Okay.
They used to sharpen knives at farms and things like that, and they called it the Wadsley Jack because round Wadsley a guy used to go around sharpening all the knives at the farms, and it was in a book called, and the guy was called Wadsley Jack, so they named the pub after him.
None after you.
No to do with me.
If we go back to your career, and obviously you leave Liverpool, you go to Cardiff. What was it like there? How was that?
Loved it at Cardiff. Obviously, it was tough. I'd never played outside of the top flight, if you know what I mean. I'd had 6 years at Hillsborough, 4 years at Liverpool, and I don't mean just playing. I mean training. You're training with top players every day.
Yeah.
Who might jockey you a bit. You get into Championship and jockey, you just kick you.
Yeah.
But so, and I was coming back from the knee injury, but we lived in a place called Cowbridge, just about half an hour from Cardiff towards Bridgend, and lovely, beautiful place. We did consider going back there to live when my career was over, but the circumstances altered that. But I did like it, and I met some fantastic kids. Met a kid at Cardiff called Clive Charles, came from West Ham. Went on to fantastic things in America. He's Hall of Fame. Went on to manage the Canadian national team. Went on to be assistant manager at US team at World Cup. And we got on fantastic, me and Charlie. We lived together for about 6 months while we bought houses, and he was just a fantastic kid. So we really, really liked it at Cardiff.
Yeah. And the third division, where they?
No, they're Championship.
So they're the second tier, yeah.
Second
tier.
Tier.
As you say, the drop off.
Yeah.
From playing reserves with Liverpool in the first division, and that was it a similar standard, would you say, or was the Championship better or worse than reserve football?
No, I think you see, Cardiff had 3 different things they had to play, and they had to play in Welsh League for a start. So you had to play reserve match midweeks, because on the Saturday you had to put a team out in Welsh League, as well as the Championship. They had to put a team in Welsh League for Saturdays.
Why's that?
Because that was part of the deal that they could play in the English League.
Move, yeah. Wow.
And then they had to, we played reserve games in midweek. So basically, the team that played Saturday in the Welsh League were reserve side. And team that then reserve side played midweek, and mixed it in with a couple of apprentices and stuff like that. But no, obviously the standard wasn't like it was at Sheffield Wednesday, wasn't at Liverpool. But listen, it was I had to earn a living.
yeah. And sorry, from there you go to Reading, is that right?
Well, he came to see me 3 times, Charlie early, and I said, no, I've done. I'm just moving. All I'm doing is going down, Charlie. He said, if you come to Reading, we'll get promotion. And anyway, I signed a 1-year contract and I went down. I'm glad I did. I'd have never met Robin Friday if I'd have not gone down there. Yeah, I mean, your listeners might never have heard of Robin Friday. There's a book out called The Greatest Player You Never Saw, and it's Robin Friday. There's 2 other books out about him, written by a guy called Stuart Kane. One's called Robin Friday the first half, and the second one's called Robin Friday the second half. But it's his lifestyle what killed him. He was gifted. He was gifted beyond belief, but he wouldn't train, wouldn't turn up for training. He took drugs. It was shocking, unbelievable. In fact, Cardiff City rang me and said, Jimmy Andrews rang me, Cardiff City, tell me about Robin Friday. I said, Jimmy, don't go near him. Just don't go near him. Yeah. He's the best player you've ever seen in your life, but 6 months you won't know where he is. And 6 months later, they signed him, and 6 months later, they didn't know where he is. They didn't know where he was. But gifted. Oh, God almighty, he could do things. I think he got a promotion on his own. We did get promotion that year. And I was absolutely rubbish. I scored a hat-trick in one game, and that was me done. I didn't enjoy it for a start. They kicked lumps out of each other at that time in that league. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
I've got a cut-in on this phone, and it says, "Champagne and violence as Reading go top." And that game, I'll tell you now, I wrote to PFA after the game. We're all in the same union. There's kids here trying to finish each other's careers.
Yeah.
It was shocking. And hey, we were just as much to blame as them. Particularly Robin, he'd smack people in kidneys, and it was shocking. No, so I didn't enjoy that.
Not your game. No.
I shouldn't have gone. I knew I shouldn't have gone.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I did. But in a way, I'm glad I did. I met some great people. I met Bruce Stuckey, who used to get me guitar gigs all over the place, and I met obviously Robin Friday and Charlie Early, and I met some really nice guys at the club. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then your injuries obviously hampered your Liverpool career. You said there you played so much football after your professional career as well. Was that anything return while you were at Cardiff and Reading, or was that never an issue again?
No, nothing. No more issues until 19. The only thing I've had since then is 1990. Sheffield Wednesday team played in the Umbro National Over 35s, and the final was always at Wembley. And it was either before the FA Vars final or before the Charity Shield. The last time we played, I met Ray. Ray was one of the coaches, I think, at Spurs. And they were playing in Charity Shield final, and we were playing before. And I ruptured my Achilles tendon. But to be fair, they rushed me straight back. They drove me straight back from London to Sheffield, and 4 o'clock in the morning they operated on it, and it were right. Within 9 or 10 months, I were right again. But apart from that, I've been okay.
Yeah.
But I didn't finish playing till I was 60. I played my last game when I was 60. Well, I was 50. I was 59 in about 8 months. I was trying to play till I was 60 because Johnny Quinn, who ran the Sheffield Wednesday All Stars, played till he was 60. I was trying to emulate Quinny, but the only problem that we're having, obviously, like every other player, your cartilages wear in your knees, wear away, and your knees start to swell and stuff like that, and that was starting to happen to me. It still does. I still play. I'm playing tennis every week still, and as I said earlier, me and Tosh used to play tennis down at Formby. I've never stopped playing tennis. I played tennis right through, and I was playing competitive tennis till I were 64, and I still play. We have a men's group on a Tuesday morning at the club, and I go and play. And I can play like 4 or 5 sets. But if I played like 3 or 4 days running, that my knee would come up like a balloon. But that's just wear and tear that everybody's got.
Yeah, that's quite impressive for in your 70s as well, to be fair. So, after football, you said you're writing all those letters out. You end up getting a career in the game. What was your role after being a player, and how did you stay involved in the top level football?
I stayed involved because when we bought the pub, that took 11 years of my life up. It was that intense, 7 days a week, early mornings till midnight. I couldn't be involved at all apart from doing what I did with Hallam. We train twice a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays. Sometimes we just train once a week because amateur football's different. You're trying to get lads who are working to come 2 nights a week, and some can't come this night, some can't come that night. So you're better off actually having one night when they can all come. And so I was involved in that all through the time we had the pub. But then when I left the pub, I sold the pub. I started working for Peter Reid at Sunderland. And in fun, weird how it happened. They rang me from Manchester City was at then. That's right. He was at Manchester City with Bobby Saxton and Sam Ellis. And he rang me and said, did I know a player called Sean Connolly? And I said, know him. I said, I know him like back of my hand. He plays at Hallam. And he said, I know, can you do a match report on him? I said, I don't need to do a match report. I can tell you everything about Sean Connolly. And he said, no, I want a proper match report. So I'm going to do you one then. So I did it, sent it off, and about 2 days later, Bobby Saxton rang me. He said, do you want to come and work here? And doing what? He said assessing the opposition we're going to play a week after. So I went and I did just the one season at Manchester City, and then they sacked Reedy. And I think about 94, he went to Sunderland, and he rang me, would have gone the same job there. So I did 12 years there doing that. And then I got a phone call. Then I retired in 2006 from my job I was doing then. I was general manager of a conference and leisure centre. And they rang me to say, we want a chief scout at Luton Town. And with no Kevin Blackwell and Sam Ellis took over at Luton Town with no scouting network at all, no scouts, nothing. So I said, okay then. I told Sunderland I were leaving. I went to work at Luton Town, and it was about Christmas Eve, I think, and we were all sat in office, and Blackie came in and he said, "We're all out of work. Club's gone bust, gone into liquidation." I thought, oh my God, I'd give all that up at Sunderland for 6 months here.
Yeah.
But anyway, Kevin Blackwell then got the job at Bramall Lane as manager, and I don't know whether he felt beholden to me because of what had happened at Luton.
Yeah.
But he rang me and said, did I want to become at a recruitment at Bramall Lane? The difficulty that was, I knew really well the lad who was at a recruitment at Bramall Lane, a lad called Kevin Randall, and he played for All Stars. And he says, no, Kevin's left, he said. In actual fact, he hadn't. So that caused a bit of... But anyway, I took the job at Bramall Lane.
Yeah.
And then in 2010, I realised I don't know what the situation was at Bramall Lane financially, but everybody I recommended to bring in, they found a reason not to. Either too much to pay, too much wages, even loan players, we can't pay at loan fee, or we can't pay all his wages. And I said, I got to 2010 and I said, no, I'm going to be doing this. Yeah. And because the people we're bringing in, people in the game would think I'd brought them in when I hadn't. And they hadn't been my choices.
Yeah.
And I thought people are going to say, well, don't know what he's doing. So anyway, I handed me notice in, and I had nowhere to go. I thought I was going to quit at that time, but 2 days later I got a phone call from Dave Bowman, who's Mick McCarthy's right-hand man, has been right through, at Wolverhampton. And they said they were looking for a European scout. And did I want a full-time job as a European? So I went as full-time at... Well, I was never at home, that's the trouble. Every Friday morning I jumped on either plane or Eurostar. Midweek I had to fly to European games somewhere. And but I did that for 3 years and that was fine. And then I had to have heart surgery right out of the blue. My dad died, and we got a call from the surgeon and said that, look, we found out your dad's been born with a hereditary aortic valve disorder, and you might have it. It travels through the male side. Oh, they're going to have a scan. Me and my brother were living in Thailand, and he's going to have a scan. So I went and had this scan, and lo and behold, I'm born with the same problem. It's called a bicuspid aortic valve instead of a tricuspid. You've only got one flap. Well, it's one flap, but one split down, then you've got two flaps instead of three flaps. And I said, what does that mean? He said, it means you've got to have your aortic valve changed. And I said, well, I'm fit as a fiddle.
Yeah.
I said, I'm still playing tennis and all this sort of stuff. And he said, no, you need it doing. I said, why if I've not had symptoms? He said, because you've been a professional sportsman, and because there's no blood getting through that valve, the aorta will be 3 times the size it should have been, because it's trying to force its way through. It's like putting your foot on a hosepipe. He said, so not only will we have to change your valve, we'll have to change your aorta. Bloody hell. So, and it turns out when they got in, it were like that, ready for bursting my aorta.
Oh.
And so I had to go in and have a new aortic valve, and they cut half of my aorta away. It comes up like that and down the front. They cut it away at the top and graft a new one on. And then the new valve. So I had to give up. Now, they said I could go back to Wolves when I got over me, because it's full, open your chest up and everything. And it's, they said I could go back, but after something like that, it takes a long time to get right. And secondly, I'm a bit afraid of flying abroad all the time and catching planes here and there with just had heart surgery.
Yeah.
So I said to Josie, how old was I then? I was 68 then. So I said, well, call it a day. Got me old age pension and got me works pension.
Enjoying life now?
Yes, I mentioned playing guitar to you earlier when I've been involved in music for the last 40 years. I've been playing around clubs and pubs and made 2 albums, and I still play. I play once a month at a place called Bolsterstone. I play once a month at a place called Loxley. And me and Roger Wilde are supposed to be playing at Christmas at a Christmas do. The ex-Sheffield Wednesday player Roger Wilde, he rang me yesterday. Can we do a couple of songs at this do we're going to at Christmas? I said, well, you can if you want.
That's great. Yeah, we'll just go on your post-playing career there. What you were talking us through.
Yeah.
Any big players that you can say I spotted them and they went on to have a good career? Anyone you're most proud of? Or?
If you could bring them in, you try and get players in, and you never know what happens. I was once in Denmark and watching Chile play Denmark when Sanchez were on the right wing for Chile, and he were absolutely amazing. And you come back and you say, if you can get hold of this guy, but then they say, don't be silly. Cost a fortune. There's only Manchester City or Man U or Liverpool can afford these sort of players, and there's all sorts of things. I got a guy into the country. Well, I helped. I tried to get him to Sheffield United. A lad called Rodolph Austin who played for Bramberg, and he became captain of Leeds. And I don't know how that fell through him coming to Bramall Lane. And in fact, Mick McCarthy rang me about him as well. Tell me about Rodolph Austin, he said. And so I told him all about him. And eventually he got kicked out of country because he played for Jamaica, and there's a rule saying you have to be in top 100 in the international before you can get a permit to work in England.
Oh, right.
You have to go back on. So there's loads of players we could have brought in. I mean, it's a question of whether your club can afford them, whether they,
Yeah.
I was one night at York City. In fact, I mentioned it on Friday morning to the lad that were giving the talk. He'd played for York and Scunthorpe, a lad called David Murphy. And some guy said, well, why do these kids sign for York when there's no money in it for them? They're better off with a normal career. And I said, I'll tell you why they sign, because they think they're going to be the next Jonathan Greening. And the story about Jonathan Greening is he was playing for York City, and I saw him make his debut. And on the way back from the game, I rang Bobby Saxton at Sunderland up. I said, I've seen a kid, York City, come on second half as sub. He's a Premiership player. And I said, you need to move quick if you're interested. I said, because the lad outside at me were from Manchester United. Next morning, I opened paper, Manchester United signed kid from York City, Jonathan Greening. So, you've got all things like that. You spot them, can you get them?
Yeah. It's two different things.
Right.
Yeah,
but of course, all the time I was at Sunderland, I was doing assessments of next week's opposition.
Yeah.
So that didn't necessarily mean I could bring. We had like talent scouts in it, looking at individuals and trying to find players. And we had people who did the assessments, which was I did there.
Yeah. That's how you say there. It's so difficult for players to know what they're going to do afterwards, and you went quite a strange way about it, maybe via a pub and all stuff like that. But to be involved in the game that long, that must have been rewarding. I'm guessing to have stayed involved for so long.
Well, it just gives you a link back to doing things and to see your old mates at games, because a lot of lads did a bit of scouting part time, bump into them all again, and you just feel like you're involved a little bit, you know what I mean? And, and when I became head of recruitment at Bramall Lane, I was completely aware of this. So all the lads I had working for me, scouts, I made sure I was. They all tell me, everyone at work for me tell me it's the best time they've had in the scouting life, because I made sure that they knew how much I valued them. They got Wednesdays off at Bramall Lane, everybody were off. I went in every Wednesday and rang my scouts up and talked to them and asked how the families were. And I still speak to every single one of them now. And that's 10, 20, 14, 15 years ago. Still speak to every one of them. Kenny Pritchard from Liverpool, ex-Liverpool player, walked out of Liverpool the day I walked in. Kenny released him the day I walked in. He worked for me. Speak to Kenny all the time. Gil Prescott, that lives in Manchester. Harold Aldred in Bolton. I made sure they thought they were part of the club, even though they were only part-time.
Yeah.
Because I hear stories about scouts getting emails, go to this game. That's it. All they get.
Yeah, that's their interaction with it.
So it's just a way of being involved.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, that's the end of the chat about your career. We're going to have another quick break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk more about your thoughts on the game and your favourite players and stuff like that.
Okay.
So we'll see you in a couple of seconds. Welcome back to the next section of the Football Historian podcast.
Sorry, Pete, I'm really sorry to interrupt you. Where'd you get that shirt from?
Oh, this Lazio one was just from Classic Football Shirts. Where'd you get yours from?
Thank you. Mine's from Classic Football Shirts as well.
Wow. Well, when I bought my shirt, I used the code TFH10 to get 10% off all orders. Did you use the same?
I did. I used a discount code. I think it was the same as yours.
Oh, TFH10. Oh, that's great, because if you want to get 10% off all your orders, you can use TFH10 at classicfootballshirts.com.
Unbelievable deal.
Third section, still done by Jack Whitham. Thank you very much. We're going to talk a bit about football history, and the first question I'm going to ask is, what is your first memory of football?
I went to watch Burnley beat West Bromwich Albion 7-2 or 7-0, was it? I was 4-year-old and I sat on my uncle's shoulders at Turf Moor. It's the first game I ever went to, and I can't actually remember the game. I can remember sitting on his shoulders, that's all, and crowd round me.
And what year is that?
Well, I was 4, so it's 74 years ago. So what are we talking? They worked that out for me.
That's your maths.
Well, I was born in 46, so 50.
That makes it easier.
1950.
Yeah, the other way was easier. What's the best game you've ever seen? So it could be as a player, it can be just watching as a fan or whatever, but what's the best game you've ever been part of?
Well, everybody in Sheffield says the best game ever seen at Hillsborough was when we beat European champions Manchester United 5-4. They just beat Benfica. And they came to us and we beat them 5-4, and there were 52,000 there. Beautiful day. And it was that exciting for people. You can imagine, I scored it first minute. And then Bestian Law scored, so we were 2-1 down. Richie got an equaliser 2-2. Charlton and Law scored, so we were 4-2 down just before half time. And I scored from a corner just before half time, went in 4-3 down. Came out second half and we scored 2 more and won 5-4. And everybody says it's the greatest game I've ever seen at Hillsborough. So to actually be involved in it, as well as and then there's the controversy about, I can't forget it, because the controversy about the fourth goal, did I get 4 or did I get 3? For 30 years I thought I'd got 4. Sheffield Wednesday thought I'd got 4 because it's in there, the chairman said so, the manager said so, the secretary of the club said so. But when the book was researched for Keith Farnsworth's Sheffield Wednesday book, it says I've only got 3, so too long in the tooth now to bother about it. 3 will do me.
Did you score? Is it your goal, in your opinion?
Sorry?
In your opinion, should it be your goal?
It would have been today, because if it's on target and it's deflected in, they seem to get it. In my day, you'd probably say, yeah, he's changed the direction of the ball, put it in his own net, but because Sheffield Wednesday said it's your goal and it'll go down in our records as your goal, I just assumed it was.
But it's not, unfortunately. The best era of football, so it could be the 50s when you started watching it, 60s, 70s you're playing, or when you
Are we talking about to watch or to play in?
For you, obviously, whichever way you want to take it, but what do you think is the greatest era?
Listen, football's better now than it's ever been. I'm in a group called Football in the 60s and 70s. A lot of people think that was the best time, the best era. It might have been more exciting for the crowd. It might have been, even been better to play. I don't know, but every measurable sport. I used to think Rod Laver was the greatest tennis player I'd ever seen. Then along come Federer and Djokovic and Nadal and Murray. I used to think Sergio Bubka was the best pole vaulter I've ever seen. Then along comes Duplantis. Every measurable sport, every sport you can measure, they've gone faster, higher, quicker, further. Football's no difference, obviously. The pitches are better, the balls are better, the technique's better, the training's better, the diets are better. They're better today than we were. So it's better now. Whether it were better to watch, I'll leave that to them who used to watch it. I know my mate Ian Branford in Southampton cannot stand watching modern football because of the number of passes around the back. Yeah, they're trying to play their way out. They're trying to find a way to play out. There's no question it's better. We talk about great sides. Would the Real Madrid side in 1960, with Di Stefano and Puskas and all these guys, would they have beaten Klopp's Liverpool or Guardiola's? They wouldn't have a prayer. It's better now.
Yeah. Okay. Not many people, I'd say, from who've been involved in the game normally seem to look back at it and say that was better. So for you to say that's maybe a bit refreshing or maybe controversial, but
I think every sport is better now.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. The next one then is the top 5 teammates that you've had. The 5-a-side team, of your teammates from your career. If you could pick the 5 players you put in there, please.
Well, I'm in Liverpool. I'll pick 5 Liverpool players. Ray Clemence was one of the best 5-a-side strikers you've ever seen. He played 5-a-side all time. We always finish with 5-a-side at Liverpool, training every day. Ray was terrific up front. So he scored more than any other strikers. But let me think. You need people up and down, like a big basketball 5-a-side, so people can get up and down, back and forward. Somebody will drive you on front back. Good dick, good keeper. I'll go for Clemence, Hughes, Thompson, Callaghan, and Keegan.
No place for yourself?
No.
And I've got a super sub as well. So
I'll come on as sub.
Great. And then the next one is the top 5 players of all time. So it could be any team, any era. You don't have to play with them. Yeah, the best 5 players ever.
That is a difficult one because there's too many, isn't there? And it's the era you play. I think you could pick 5 players from that era and say these are the best from the 70s, these are the best from the 80s, these are the best from the 90s. And the other problem you've got with picking the best 5 players, am I picking the most ability-wise? I'll give you an example. Is Mo Salah a better player than Van Dijk? Well, as a striker he is, but he couldn't do Virgil's job, could he?
Yeah.
So I find that very difficult to pick 5. And if I was saying the best 5 players of all time, I think they're all playing now.
Okay.
If you can't have Messi and Ronaldo, which everybody picks, how about Iniesta and Xavi? How about Cruyff? How about Mbappe? Going back, how about Thierry Henry? I could pick 105 great players. Di Stefano in the 60s, Puskas, who was that guy? Played right back for Santa Maria. Played for Real Madrid. It's a great 60s side. Wingers, Hento, Real Madrid winger, phenomenal. That Garrincha at Brazil, Jairzinho, Pele. Oh dear me, I could go on forever. I can't pick. I could pick. You'd have to say who's best at 5 keepers, best 5 centre backs, best 5 midfielders, best 5 strikers. I could go on forever. Best players. Listen, there's that many great players around at the minute. You can see them. It's fun. You only have to look at Manchester City and Liverpool. Absolutely packed with great players.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll give you one other question then to try and get one answer out of you.
Yeah.
If you had to have one player to take a penalty to save your life, who would you have the penalty being taken by? It could be anyone ever.
Saved my life?
Yep.
Cole Palmer.
Okay. So that's a good one. And then what I want to ask as well, because you've spoken so much there about the modern era and all that type of stuff, would you have been a player today, and at what standard do you reckon you would have played at?
I think it suited me better today. The pitches, for a start. Secondly, you know for a fact you're not going to get clattered from back. When we played against Chelsea, and I played wide right, my legs on my calf muscles were cut to ribbons because Eddie McCready used to love coming in from the back and hitting your own calf muscle. Your shins then knock the ball out of play and it's their throwing. there's no tackling from back, so you've got better grass to run into because the pitches are beautiful. Because one of my strengths was pace, I'm better off running on top of surface, a lovely surface, than trying to play your way through mud like you might have at the old Derby County ground or a lot of the grounds in the throes of winter. So I would like to think that it suited me better. When just after I finished playing, we played Johnny Quinn's All Stars played on a pitch near us for some of the charity games that were one of the very first AstroTurf. I loved it. I loved it because I could run and the ball were never going to stick, and I could sprint in behind, and I could knock ball past the fullback and run. No, it weren't going to stick. I would hope I would be okay today. Yeah.
So what's that? We'd be playing for Liverpool. Would you be competing with Mo Salah on the right wing?
No, the modern players, I'd need their diets, I'd need their training, I'd need everything else.
Yeah.
I'm not presumptuous enough to think I was anywhere near the standard of Mo Salah. Here's a question for you. Is Mo better than Robbie Fowler? Is he better than Michael Owen? As a striker, is he? Well, I don't know, because they were the best at their time, the time they were allotted. And you can only play in the time you were allotted. Mo's got the benefit now of seeing them go before him, knowing what he can achieve, knowing what's possible, knowing what to eat, knowing how to keep himself fit, and playing with great players, as they did, I suppose. But you can't really say. You can only say they were the best of their time.
Yeah.
We might be 10 years down the line, we might come up with somebody who's scoring more than Haaland is today. A mate of mine rang me from Germany. He says, there's a guy called Haaland coming to England to play. He says he's a phenomenon. And because he scored all these goals for Dortmund, was it?
Yeah.
And he lived in Germany, my mate. And he said, just amazing. And he's come and he's done exactly the same thing. But is he a better player than De Bruyne? Is he a better player than Aguero? Not really, is he? But is he a better finisher than him? One of the best finishers I've ever seen, because he's desperate for it, isn't he?
Yeah.
Hungry.
Okay, that's great. Well, we'll have another final quick break, and then we're going to settle some of the biggest debates in football history. Easy job for us.
Okay.
We'll see you in a sec. Are you looking for a Kazakhstani football team to support? Then I think FC Kemay is a team you should support. Do you agree?
Growing up as a child, I always had FC Kemay posters on my bedroom wall.
Well, and all the children of the Kazakhstani future will have FC Kemay posters on their wall, because FC Kemay is the team to support, and because of that, Tom has made us a chant that we're all going to follow. So,
up the Kemay, up the Kemay,
up the Kemay. Make sure you follow them on all the social medias, all the posts and all the things you should follow will appear below us and right here. You should be a supporter of FC Kemay.
Live, laugh, Kemay.
The debate.
Welcome back to the debate. So we're going to ask a few questions. We keep a tally of where the answers are, and the plan is that we're going to settle these debates once and for all.
Right.
The first one is Gerrard, Lampard or Scholes. If you could put them in a 1, 2, 3 for us, please.
The same order you've just given me. Gerrard, Lampard and Scholes.
And why is Gerrard the best?
I just think Steve was fantastic. I mean, I don't just mean as a player. And I'm not saying he's the most gifted player in the world, but you're driving his team on, leading by example, the goals he scored from middle of the park, driving forward and stuff. Different goals you see to Lampard. Lampard was a late arriver in box. Steve drove at teams, didn't he, and scored from distance and all this sort of thing. I thought he was one of the best players. Like we talked about of his time, one of the best players.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not saying the other two weren't great players, they were, but I just think Stevie was a little bit above them.
Yeah. And then, so you did your opposition analysis and stuff like that. Have you coming up against players like Gerrard, Lampard, Scholes? What can you do to try and stop them, or what are you saying?
Each team would do something different, and some teams might say, sit on him. This is your job. Sit on him. Don't let him come forward. Other players say, double up on him and stuff like that. Well, listen, every manager's got his own idea of how to stop these players. It don't work, does it? Every manager, they'd have had a plan to stop Mo Salah yesterday. They didn't stop him coming inside on his left foot and whipping into the top corner, did they?
Yeah.
It's no good. You can have plans. It's how you execute it on the day, isn't it?
Yeah, quite great. The next one is Pele or Maradona.
Oh, dear God. I'd probably say Maradona because he was an era in front, and it had moved on again. I always believe sport moves on, and I think probably when Maradona played, the Argentine side had moved on from the Brazil side. Not saying they were more exciting. The 70 Brazil side were probably the most exciting sides you'd ever see.
Yeah.
And for fans to watch, but individually, probably Maradona. Might just take it off him for and the God thing, but
you forgive him. Next one is Messi or Ronaldo.
Ronaldo. I've never thought Messi was as good as Ronaldo ever.
Right, okay. Messi's winning quite comfortably on this one, so why do you think Ronaldo's better?
Oh, if you had to pick one of the best players there's ever been, and I had to just pick one, I would probably just go for Ronaldo. Well, there's so many things in there about him. He's played wide. He was a wide left player basically, but he had all the ability in the world. He had the strength. He had the physique. He had the dedication to improve himself. His record's phenomenal. He's still playing and scoring goals for Portugal now. I know Messi still is, but I just think that Ronaldo had everything. What about his ability in air? Gets up in air, hangs there, batters headers into net, can shoot with either foot, can send people the wrong way. He's got pace. He's got strength. I've always thought Ronaldo was a better player than Messi. Don't mean to say Messi's not a brilliant, outstanding, wonderful player, but I just think, as I think Steven Gerrard was just a little above Lampard and Scholes, I think Ronaldo's just above Messi.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And then, if they are the best two players of the last 10, 15 years, who's third best behind them two?
Xavi and Iniesta. Johan Cruyff changed the game. Xavi, Iniesta, Johan Cruyff. Oh, there's been so many. Used to love watching Thierry on replay. Used to love watching Suarez.
Yep.
At his peak down at Liverpool. Didn't like some of his antics, but as a player, just fantastic. What about De Bruyne? Dear me. There's a lot of cuppa in that. There's a lot of cuppa in there just behind Ronaldo and Messi.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. And then next one is goalkeepers. Got Buffon, Casillas and Neuer. Could you put them in order, please, of who's best?
Really? Ray Clements was best keeper I ever saw.
Okay, that's right. He could beat them. And then the next one is captain your club to win the league or captain your country to win the World Cup. What would you rather do?
Seeing as we're in England, I'd rather captain England to win World Cup simply because we don't look like we're ever going to do it again. And it was when I was a young kid in 1966. What a day that was to see England. And football wasn't like it is now. It didn't get the promotion, the publicity. It's not on telly all the time like it is. It was just those days. Saturday night there was just one match of the day, one match.
Yeah.
So that's important. But to be fair, you owe it to your club because they're paying your wages. So it's a tough cookie. Both, really. Who's done both? A lot of people.
Yeah, there's probably a few. Messi's probably in there, isn't he? All right, then the next one. There's two more left for you. But the greatest manager of all time.
Guardiola.
Okay, and why?
And just behind him, Klopp. Because at the minute, 2 years ago, they were both of them were best teams in the world, joint best teams in the world, weren't they? And because of the knowledge they've accumulated, if you'd have asked me 5 or 6 years ago, I'd have said Arsene Wenger. But now, I think that's moved on again because Klopp and Guardiola and even some of these new guys now it's in Premiership, they took all this information from other managers that's come up behind them, and they're putting all that into practice. And just as players get better and teams get better, I think managers get better. And that's not to say some managers haven't achieved amazing things like Shanks did in the 60s and 70s with Liverpool, and like Bob Paisley did in the late 70s. It's not to say they haven't done just as good or better a job. I just think managers know more now.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And then the last one is, who is the greatest team ever? So it can be from like a tournament, a season, a couple of weeks or whatever, but who's the greatest team ever?
In the 60s, it was Real Madrid. They won the European Cup non-stop, time after time after time. They had the Stefano and Puskas and Hento and Santamir and all that, like we said. The greatest team I saw in the 70s was the Brazil side, the 1970 Brazil side. The greatest team I saw in the after that. Right. I'm going to go for either the Barcelona side of 2009 or the Spain side of 2008. I'll go for the Spanish side of 2008 because they were the best technical side I've ever seen. Every one of the players on the pitch were a technician. Looked after the ball, could take it in tight areas, could move it about quick, had good intelligence. I think it was 2008, was it?
Yeah. When they won the Euros and then won the World Cup, and back to that 2-year period or whatever, they were great with it.
And who later than that then? No, not later than that. I'll settle for the Spanish 2008 side.
Okay, that's a good one. That's good. Right, well, that is the end of our conversation. Thank you once again for making the big journey over there. I really, really do appreciate it.
No problem.
It's great to have someone with your knowledge and memories of the game. It's amazing to hear. We normally say at the end, is there anything you want to plug or share or tell people at home to go and look at or anything like that? Because I know we were just talking then off camera about the stuff you're doing with the PFA and the dementia stuff. Is there anything that you want to share about that or anything?
No, I just said the lads who might not know, who are getting to my age, we had a meeting with the PFA last week, and they have got something called a brain health fund, and ex-players who might be struggling with any kind of neurodegenerative disease needs to investigate what is on offer from the PFA. They do a lot of things, home adaptions, and help you get to clubs and help you get to the gym and help you do this and that and the other. A lot more than what people just think, repairing your knees and giving you a new hip, stuff like that. It's a brand new thing. It's only been going a year, called the Brain Health Fund. It's subsidised all sorts of different things. They get £1 million a year. Don't seem a lot, but they only had to spend 525,000 of it last year. So if it's an ongoing thing and more people apply to them for help, they can ask for actually more money each year. I think it's a big thing. We talked earlier about the players we know who are having problems at the minute with the memory, and we've started memory clubs at Sheffield Wednesday, Sheffield United, Chesterfield and Rotherham football clubs. They've got a memory club at every club. It helps ex-players who are having difficulty. I'm looking for some wood somewhere to touch. Luckily, at the minute, my memory seems sharp as a tack. But I did ask the guy, Dr. Adam White, the other day from the PFA, have I got past the time now where I might get it? It's not a chance, he said. If you live long enough, you'll get it. And so if I get into my 80s, I might need this help from the PFA. At least I know now whether it's there.
Yeah.
And it's important for, the ex-lads, every club I've played with, well, any ex-player in the country, that there is some help available.
Yeah.
If you've got 300 grand at bank, they might not help you. But if you played in the 60s and 70s and probably the 80s, you're probably not wealthy enough to for them to say, if you've got too much money.
Yeah.
And they will help you. It's just a question of contacting them and asking them what help's available.
Yeah. Well, that's great. That's very important as well, and obviously something that you're passionate about. It's great that you're involved as well. Yeah. Thank you once again. It's been really interesting to speak to you. Thank you very much, and thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you next time on the Football Historian Podcast.
locking eyes from across the room, heart is pounding. What have I have to lose? This kind of feeling tends to blur your sight.